time to do it. And I love to say that I don't have time. It's about making time to do these things and focusing on what we need to focus on and getting people to focus on the things they need to be focusing on to get the job done. And it just hasn't been happening. Not as well as it should have been. That's okay. We've made a lot, and I do mean a lot of mistakes, and we're paying for them. So we'll find out. We'll see. Okay. Oh, Tide, thank you very much for joining us. The camera is for calibration, specific build photos of regions of interest. Yeah, the M790 is utilized to allow a specific subroutine to be run to move to a specific XY and shoot a picture. When using multiple heads, multi-build heads, the camera will be used precisely to align the heads. Thank you. Okay. Vipers, just so that you know, typically we want to make sure that people do not, well, in a way, out themselves on Justin.tv, and we try to curb it back as much as possible. But as of right now, I would have to double check a couple of things. First of all, I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe that you've taken your very first and your second training classes. I'm not sure if we received the full balance of your deposit, and from there I'd have to see where you are currently in the queue. So, like I said before, we'll have to take a look at that and then jump in a little bit further and to find out where you guys are. Okay. It was always intended as a second camera for a bird. It was always intended to use a second camera for a bird's eye view. Oh. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Tide. Thank you, sir. So I did not realize that there was going to be a second camera for the bird's eye view. I just didn't see where it was. I know you said something about that a while ago, but I didn't know if that was where, I didn't know where it was going to be placed. So, all right. All right. Bring a platform that hooks onto the door handle to hold the camera. Makes it easy for you to move and remove. So, excellent. So, okay. All right. Thank you, Todd. Trying to think if there's anything else that needs to be reported for tonight. Nothing that I can think of. It's just cranking out the manual, cranking out the videos and stuff like that, and also doing all the documentation that's necessary over the next couple of days is what I'll be working on mainly. So, Raising, is the new 407 firmware released yet? No. What about the hotheads? No. Any ETA? No. Will there be, how will it be distributed? Good question. Let me explain why the 407s are not released. I have the new 407 software. Sorry, not software, firmware. But the reason why it has not been released is very simple. The new 407 firmware does not talk to the current version of the firmware for the hotheads. Now, the hothead firmware has not been released to me yet. So, Carl still has that with him, and he's still working on that out in China. So, if I were to give you the new firmware for the 407 today, it would not work for the hotheads. Yes, the machine will run, even better, but it will not run with the extruder heads. So the most it would be good for at this point would be a pin plotter. Um, there. Okay. So I cannot speak as to the ETA for the firmware or for the software, but what it is, when I do have it, we'll be sending out links to everybody on the wiki that will allow you guys to download to very quickly, very easily download the firmware, download the software, and any and all recipes that I have. We're working also, I'll be working also, I'm not working on right now, but I will be working on in the future, how you're able to upload your slicer recipes and stuff like that up to either the wiki or to a different website that will allow you to share if you want to, or keep privately those particular settings. And I'll be working on that with Davo and with Carl to try and see if we can get that going. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. You cannot get the resolution you need for precise alignment if you are far away from the build area. So the first embedded camera is primarily for calibration. Thank you. If doubles as a build monitor, but for the spectacular pictures, you will need to mount a second webcam to the 80-20 and get a nice shot. So, which will probably have to be mounted up here or to the side, somewhere on your actual system 30. So, Parisian, what is delaying the hothead firmware? To say in the shortest version possible, a lot. Quite a bit. And I do mean quite a bit. So, there are things that we found as we have been cleaning up the firmware for the hotheads that, because we don't understand some of the original firmware that was written, and there was no documentation that was provided with it, pulling it together, finding out by removing this, putting this back in, finding out what is key critical, what is not, what causes a logic bomb, what does not cause a logic bomb, how to remove those particular logic bombs, how to do the interpretation correctly on the soap strings, to do the correct stuff when it comes to utilizing the CAN bus, when it comes to any kind of monitoring, when it comes to the temperature monitoring, when it comes to there's an unbelievable amount of things that have to be vetted through, and it has to be where the communications have to jive just right, and a lot of that has been rebuilt. So it's quite a bit. It is quite a bit to jump into it and to really. And Carl's been doing a wonderful job sinking his teeth into it. And Greg, if you're out there, thank you very much for working with us and continuing to work with us to get this to be even better. So, and fixing fixing all these issues that we've been having. So, and on top of that, getting enough time on top of all of this to do, to provide support, to make the machines, to do the recipes, to do the manual, to do the legal work, which there's legal aspects for certain companies who are out there, to do the sourcing, to do the to make sure that the double check on there's so many things that go into making a company and doing it right and having enough time to double check everything and make sure that there aren't any reworks when it comes to assembly. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that, Arisian. There are a lot of things that get in the way. And managing those has become almost a full-time job. So I'm just letting you and everybody else know the state of the state. So Where did the original firmware come from? Didn't Carl write it from scratch? No, he did not. At least to my knowledge, he did not. I believe there were aspects of it that were written by a couple of other people because we needed help. We were way far behind, and the help that came in and got us to the point where we were up and printing. Everybody, like right now, you can be up and printing, but the only problem is right now is the to my knowledge is the acknowledge code issue that continually pops up. So to put the blame squarely upon one person, put that blame squarely upon me. Okay, put it on me, put it on Carl. That's pretty much about it. We were the ones who were responsible. So if that's what you're really and truly looking for, put it on us, really and truly. So the difference is that we're not going to be the ones that are like some other people we've seen in the past who are going to run away. We're gonna find a way, always find a way to make it work, to make it run better. And those who are helping us along the way, we thank you. So just know that, Arisian, that we're going to continue to press forward on this. And I'm not sure if you've already received your machine. If you have, then I will, and I'm going to be doing this for everybody who has currently received their machines. I'm going to be working with you guys to get your machines completely updated. And if it requires, not if it requires, some of you have already told you that I am going to go ahead and jump on, find a time that I can sit down with you and with your machine via Skype and TeamViewer, and I'm going to update your machine for you. So for those people who are there. Greg says, just joining, I can answer the firmware source if you'd like. For sure is Carl, he is always trying to make it right. Yeah. Tolative, that's not necessary. But I do thank you, but it's not necessary. To point fingers and do that kind of stuff is a waste of time, effort, energy, and also emotions. It really and truly is. If you would have asked me this roughly about before, actually a year and a little bit more ago, before we even started doing this project, I would have had a much different answer. But I've learned enough to know now that's just not right. So it's about right now what we have in front of us to get the job done and to do it right. So I think Donald Trump said it by far the best in one of his very first books, which is a philosophy that his father put out there, which is, get in, get it done, and get it done right. And then you can move on to do the next thing. Get in, get it done right, and move on and press on to the next thing. In this case, the next features that we have planned, the next items that we have planned for each one of these guys, the next software enhancements, the next firmware enhancements, all of those to make you guys the best machine on the planet, in our opinion, which is completely biased and skewed. Then yeah, and in that regard, yes, there are going to be others who are out there who can do things better than we can. In certain areas, but which is the truth. We're not going to tell you one way or the other that we do this particular thing the absolute best, but for what our needs are and for what everybody else's needs are going forward, we're going to incorporate each thing that we can so that these machines get better and better and better. If they end up being the best, or we think that they will be, then great. So I may have misspoke a little bit earlier saying that we think these things are the best. Let me say this, in comparison to the ones that we've used in the past when it comes to 3D printers, I would say this is just slightly better. Slightly better. And I do mean that sarcastically. So, okay. Raising, I have two main beefs, two things I am not happy with. First is the spreadsheet, which has been promised from day one. Okay? That's my fault. All right? What else? If the problem with updating is new pre-orders, create a separate section in the spreadsheet or use a second spreadsheet. Okay. That's not the problem with the spreadsheet. It really and truly is not. Okay? It really and truly isn't. It's one of us, namely me, having enough time to actually update it. And if I'm updating the spreadsheet, then I'm not working on the machines. If I'm not working on the machines, we can't ship anything out the door. If I'm working on the spreadsheet, I can't build the recipes. So compartmentalizing these individual things, I'll have to carve out some time, because it usually takes roughly about an hour to 2 hours just to go through everything to pull out. I know it sounds incredibly silly that it takes that amount of time to update a simple spreadsheet, but it really and truly does when it comes to making sure these guys are correct. So if I give you a hard ETA today, and let's say and suppose that something goes wrong with QC, are you going to be happy about that? Probably not. Let's see. My second beef is with the release of the firmware. You are trying to bite off too much, except that you're going to need multiple updates more frequently. I will pass that information on to Carl when it comes to the firmware. I will. And you're right. And yeah, you're right. 5 years of updates isn't as wonderful if the updates are only 18 months. And Irizian, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, I know. But this is where some of the other battles are currently being fought as of right now. So I'm going to go a little more open kimono here, guys, letting you guys know what's going on. Just so that you guys, fully understand what's going on. Drawings for these guys? Forget it. Half the stuff had to be cleaned up by Carl. I'm still having to clean up a couple of them every now and then whenever I find them. So building these things and getting them right is rather cumbersome, rather difficult in a lot of instances. Not very cool. Getting the electronics right is another thing. Now, I will say that our electronics guy has done a wonderful job in a lot of different areas. But there's a long way to go when it comes to actually getting the right bill of materials. It comes a long way to go when it comes to getting the right schematics. It comes a long way to go when it comes to getting the right layout. There's a lot of things that are there too. So squarely putting the person who is doing the firmware, the software, updating the drawings where it's necessary, squarely on one person's shoulders, while I'm doing the legal, I'm doing the accounting, some of the accounting, not all the accounting, production, assembly in some instances, also doing the printing and everything else. It's a pretty big thing to swallow, and we're in a very, very small, tight, compact space. We don't have enough people to be able to handle all of this. We really and truly do not. We will soon. We will soon. But today, we're not geared up for this. We really, truly are not. So all I can say, Arisian, is that I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't go any faster than this. I really, truly cannot. Section off targeted improvements for release and stick to it. You need to formalize your software development program at least a little. Organic development only works in the first stages of a software project. Try sprints or something like that. That's like doing scrums. I understand. I don't know exactly what will work with you, but clearly software development is not being focused on or is not manned up enough. Definitely is not manned up enough. Dude, I know you're sorry. I can see it. So, yeah. You're almost broken, but you're fighting on admirably. Way much kudos to that. Arisian, I'm not sure exactly who you are, but I do know that you're a Kickstarter backer, and I can tell you this. I was broken a long time ago, my man. Or woman. I was broken a long time ago. One thing that I know that I am is that I think the good word to use is indomitable. It comes to a lot of things in this life. And indomitable means no matter how many times you get broken, no matter how many times you get beaten down, you come back and you finish the job and you do it right. That's who I am. So that's who Carl is. That's who Davo is. And when we hire someone, they're going to have to be that too. So, thank you. I'm very frustrated. I have a printer sitting here. It's been here for nearly a year and it's never printed a thing. Okay. Okay. Now I know who you are. And no, I'm not going to out you on Justin.tv. I'm not going to out you anywhere anyway. What this tells me is that I need to sit down with you, and I need to Skype in with you, and I need to team view in with you, and give you all the things that I can, cleaning out all of the stuff that does not need to be there, and give you the best stuff moving forward. So, yeah. And I'll get you up and running. I will. So email me, and I'll set up a time, and we'll take care of this. Eagle and J, what printer is that? let it go, Eagle and J. Yeah, it was counted on a few weeks, months ago, but against the ship units tally, but it does not work. Never has, because it's sat for 6+ months without a hothead. Now has a head finally, and I was promised software and firmware for Christmas Day. How patient do I need to be? First of all, you're right, and it's unfair for us to continue to be any more patient than you already have been. You're in the same boat as every other Kickstarter that has come before as well. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what else I can say at this point. So you can understand why it's getting very frustrating that the firmware is being held back. Why not fix the comms and release, then fix the primer track release, and then the other belts? Yeah, I know. It's because I am being forced out. Well, not forced out. I've been told not to work on this because I need to be working on the manual and doing the videos. And you know what? That's absolutely correct. In order to fight this particular stage of war, because it is somewhat of a battle, the best thing to do is for me to finish doing carving out enough time for myself to finish doing the documentation on how to do the shipping, on how to do the assembly, on how to do on the manual, on how to actually get up and print, on how to do just about everything and anything in this company, including giving you guys what it is that you're looking for. And then on top of all of that, do the videos, finish them, get those guys out the door, and then switch over and start coding. Because I was a coder before I went to college. I was a coder when I was in college. I coded after college. I haven't coded a single darn thing in the past couple of years. So it'll require me to jump in and do that. I think it might require me to do that. Getting up at 6 and going to bed at 3. I gotta be a little bit smarter in partitioning my time. So I need to carve some time out to actually do some planning. Okay. Let's see. This music, this is an issue that will not be resolved in this forum. Yeah, Irizian, you know, or should, that I have a lot of respect for you. I know you. I support you all with all I have. Thank you. Less music. This hasn't been resolved elsewhere, mate. Despite much effort, these forums seem to be a kid gloves kind of environment. Eventually, that stops washing. Not 100% sure what that means, Arisian, but I know that you probably will let me know, probably via email. Okay. But thank you, Arisian. And for everybody who's out there, the second that I have the firmware, the second that I have everything lined up, I'm dropping it out there for everybody. So you can pick up and use it. The way in order to actually do the firmware and software, in fact, you know what? I might even just do a broadcast, making it simple and easy. Just to push it out there. It's going to be rough when it comes to, if I did it that way, it's going to be rough when it comes to doing